Me not going to your game doesn't mean I don't value you. Me not going to your game means I also value myself. And I want you at a child's age to realize that and grow up knowing that you can't be everywhere all the time doing everything. And that concept of an emotional budget has really saved me from burnout. And I encourage younger teachers also know what you're willing to give. And I mean, if you're younger, you don't have a spouse, you don't have kids, and maybe you're available to give a little more in that area. But if you're active in your church, you're active in your family, you're active in civic pursuits, Lions Club or Rotary Club, things like that, it is okay not to be everywhere all the time for every kid because we are a part of a support system. We ourselves are not the only support system.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to The Voice of the Teacher. I'm your host, Jacob Montag. This is a continuation of our Culture Builders series. We're currently discussing the mindset of a successful educator with my good friend Jonathan Sixtos. If you missed any of our previous parts, be sure to check the links below, and that'll take you to the previous videos. I would highly encourage you to watch them in order. We're doing these in 10 to 15 minute increments for your viewing and listening convenience. So we hope that this series will be a blessing to you, will be an inspiration to you. Share it with a colleague who's really down right now. Share it with an instructional leader on your campus, because ultimately we hope that this series will put us all in a better frame of mindset wherever we are conducting our respective educational journeys at. So sit back, relax, and let's get ready to continue our upcoming conversation about what it takes to be a successful teacher, entitled Culture Builders. When it comes to the emotional budget, obviously a big chunk of that's going to be building relationships with students and with parents. And you mentioned a couple minutes ago about the communication system you have with students, and I'm assuming parents are also have access to that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I'm not, endorsing, this is not a sponsored video, but I use an app called Remind.
No sponsorships. No.
Yeah, no sponsorships. And the thing I love most about it, they asked me to do a survey yesterday, and they're like, what do you love most about Remind? I'm like, well, what I love most is the transparency and the security, because I never see their phone number, they never see mine. And all conversations are recorded in the cloud. So if there's an open records request or any allegations of any kind, I can just easily pull that up, and your supervisor can also pull it up. The principals have options to look at message frequency, message times, things that are sent, because you cannot delete anything in the Remind app, and it's strictly business. We don't use it for any kind of social interactions.
Yeah, I think Remind has probably been a mainstay of the public school teacher for the past. They've been around for quite some time now, I know. And so if a teacher's not using Remind, obviously Mr. Sixtos and I both recommend get on Remind if you're not using it already. Make your life a whole heck of a lot easier, right? So do you ever have parents that they subscribe for it and then they just like unsubscribe and you can't ever get a hold of them through that means again?
I have had some parents, and the problem that we mostly have kind of in our general area, we're a Title I school, which means the majority of our students are considered low income, socioeconomic status, and different things. And so what you'll find a lot of times is that there's a high turnover rate for mobile phones. And so maybe when they registered their kid in August, that was their number, but because of financial hardships or a change in location, residence, whatever it is, that is no longer their mobile number. So sometimes it is a little harder to track down parents, but typically, depending on the kid, we can use the child to kind of leverage that relationship and say, hey, can you find a way to get me in contact with that parent? Usually emails don't change as much. So I've found that that's more consistent than a cell phone reaching out.
Okay. Now, being in a area that has a lot of poverty, did it get that way overnight? Did it start out with more people moving in, looking for opportunities in the community? I guess that's what I'm trying to ask is when it comes to the socioeconomic status of the city, how does that affect the child's learning environment at the school?
I think that's a really interesting question. The situation of Victoria, the city in which I work, is that we are kind of in this strange limbo between a rural district and a suburban district, because we're not close enough to Corpus to be considered a suburb. We're almost exactly, if you kind of draw a triangle between Houston, San Antonio, and Corpus Christi, we're in the middle. And that's about it. The Crossroads community itself is a couple 100,000 people if you include your smaller communities, your Cueros, your Yorktowns, your Kennedys, your Goliads. But
Mhm.
Victoria itself is big enough to have two 5A public high schools, and then also a couple private schools as well, and then a homeschool community that's pretty vibrant as well.
Yeah.
So when it comes to industries that we have some kind of stalwarts, I guess you could call them, but we don't
Yeah.
have very many heavy hitters. Most of the chemical production plants are located along the coast or closer kind of towards your Houston area. But we do have shipping. We're kind of a vital South Texas crossroads, obviously. So a lot of shipping as far as FedEx, UPS, material goods that are passed through this area. But we don't have kind of a thriving business community as you would find maybe towards your I-35 corridor. You see the explosion of New Braunfels and Upper San Antonio, San Marcos, South Austin.
Oh
It's
yeah.
almost just one metroplex at this point.
Yeah.
So we are not shrinking economically, but I wouldn't say that we're the most robust economy in South Texas.
So the word used would be transients then. Like,
I think so. We do see a lot of
yeah.
people coming through from Houston, from Corpus, from San Antonio. And just the fact that we have a lot of kind of your lower middle class, then that's generally what you see. And it's a pretty even division between East and West High School. The zoning is fairly accurate. There are a couple discrepancies between some of our junior highs, just kind of demographically where they're located in town. But we're always looking to improve. The school board addresses those things every several years. But to kind of bring up the second part of your question, I don't feel like we have some of the same problems as, let's say, an inner city school with
Mhm.
abject poverty. I feel like our local community does enough to support our students where we don't have chronic hunger. We do have some homelessness that pops up when transient, maybe they're out of this apartment, but they're looking to get into another. But as far as like abject poverty, I don't see as much of that. We're just not like a one-to-one iPad school with the latest and the greatest and different things. But I would say that we're towards the middle of the pack. And I hate to use generalizations like typical student or small town school, but we do have it better than many schools. But we also are looking consistently to improve.
Yeah. And that sounds like a great mindset. You don't have to be at the top. It's like I heard one leader say, uh, excellence is doing the best with what you have to work with.
I totally agree with that. I mean, the way that I view it is this. In my 10th year, obviously there's been opportunities for me to go somewhere else and do other things and advance my career. But I was actually sharing this with a first year teacher a few years back. Teaching is enough. I am a culture builder in this school and I do make a difference. And even just, people picking up the Victoria Advocate today, they are privy now to the great things going on this campus because I decided, hey, I want to help out this district leader with this project. And I am just a teacher. And being just a teacher, I believe, is just enough.
Well, I like the way you characterized yourself there. Culture builder. So just very real quickly, like what kind of culture do you want to build there at East High School?
Oh man, I love this question. Thank you so much. So we here at East High School love to have fun. And it's a type of fun that celebrates student success. It's not kind of fun that takes away from the academics and the learning. So we've got a core group of teachers here who really fuel the fire. Several years ago, I came up with this tradition that I used to have at my high school where the seniors would play the teachers in a volleyball game. And so I asked the principal about it, and she was like, yeah, we need some more school spirit stuff. So we decided let's play right before Thanksgiving break. And the art students got involved, and they made this paper mache trophy, and it's a turkey leg. And so we battle for the turkey leg, and we play them. We're actually going to be playing them here in about a month. And it is such a fun tradition. And then we have, we decided a couple years ago, why don't we do a basketball game in the spring? And so we're kind of older and we only do like half court. So we call it the not so fast break game. And the kids get excited because that's another way to build these relationships with the teachers. So we have a core group that go to these games. Again, we can't go to every game because we have families, we have responsibilities, but
Right.
we ask about the game. We say, hey, tell me when you're going to have that guitar concert. How did it go at the band competition? And we celebrate the students' success. So, like you said, maybe we are part of their support system, but we can be a big part of that support system. And so, because of the flexibility that I am a teacher, I'm not caught up in meetings all day. I'm not interacting just with bad kids and angry parents in a principal's office. I'm a culture builder because I am interacting with over 100 students every single day. And so I decide, because I'm full tank of gas because of my emotional budget, I am able to pour into these kids and into
Mhm.
this campus community, even helping out other teachers, setting up dual monitors or installing a printer driver or just letting them vent sometimes, not gossiping and just having oh, well, you know what I heard. Sometimes we try and show off who has the bigger band-aid, but just being a support system for my peers and my students. And I really feel like I've found my God-given niche here at East High School.
Yeah. And I think that's key, finding your niche, and choosing what you're going to rise above. Like I've worked in some schools where it was a gossip thing. Like there was no real productivity or culture building. It was just like, I hate this, I don't like that, I hate this, I don't like that. And so whenever you were, because no school's perfect, so whenever you were a first year teacher, a very young teacher, maybe even doing your internship, like how did you put those mental blocks in place to say, that's not what I'm going to be?
So shout out to the teacher prep program at Texas State University, San Marcos, eat 'em up cats. They taught us early on, do not eat lunch with other teachers, especially your first year. And I always thought that was counterintuitive. I'm like, I thought I was supposed to build relationships, but they say, no, you need to establish yourself first. So they said, watch out for
Mm.
those people who are going to drag you down. And I feel like my energy and my positivity was able to withstand adversity because I established myself first. So my advice to new teachers, again, establish your identity, figure out who you are, set your boundaries, and that's going to set you up for the long term. Don't try to keep up with anybody. And so there were logistical obstacles when I got started. We were on a block schedule, A to B. I came in replacing a teacher who quit at Christmas break, and we had a weird schedule where the semester wasn't over yet until the middle of January. So I have dealt with some adversity over the years. We had Hurricane Harvey back in 2017.
Ugh.
Especially, I'm sure we'll talk about the COVID pandemic here in a little bit, but just maintaining that vision and having it before me that this is the kind of teacher that I'm going to be, and this is the type of experience that my students are going to have. So even on a bad day, the kids have that grace for me. Like, hey guys, I'm not feeling it today, but I want to continue to enrich your learning. So I found maybe this activity that y'all can do or this online thing that you can do that doesn't maybe require me flying around the classroom with that hands-on support, but the kids still see, hey, even at his low points, he's still giving us whatever his best effort looks like that day.